everyone, welcoming you all to our video interview series of Icons Behind Brand, and I am very excited to have Mr. Kunal Mehta as a guest speaker. Mr. Kunal is the Global Director of Marketing and Communication at DSM Nutritional Products, who is also a writer by heart and traveler by soul, a multifaceted individual who loves to share insights, observations, stories on marketing and advertisement. So here's to discuss such interesting observations, stories, insights right from him. A warm welcome to you, Kunal.
Thank you very much, Devleena. Thank you for inviting me to your platform. And I also hope that 2022 started on a nice and healthy note for you, as well as all your viewers and your audiences.
Thank you, Kunal, and we are delighted to have you here in Icons Behind Brand. Let's hear your journey and background. So I would love to know, Kunal, 17 years in the field of marketing, branding, right? So how has been your journey and about your background?
Wow, that's a, how do you put 17 years into an answer? It's always like that, but let me try and do that. So let's start with where I started my career. So back in 2004, I finished my master's in communication management from MICA, Institute of Communications Ahmedabad, and then I joined Arvind Brands in the retail sales. That's where I started my career. A few years later, I moved to the Fmcg world. I joined Britannia in Bangalore. I was doing marketing for their cookies portfolio, especially the Good Day brand. Then I moved and I joined Nestle, first in India, working with the chocolates team there. And then I moved to the Nestle headquarters in Switzerland, taking care of global innovations for KitKat. After having spent quite a few years in the FMCG world, I decided to stretch myself once again. And 3 years back, I joined the DSM Nutritional Products in the B2c space. I can tell you this, Devleena, all these roles, it has been absolutely wonderful, because it gave me the opportunity to really experience the full spectrum of marketing, based on the different brands that I've handled in the different markets. And each role, of course, came with its own challenge, its own learning, and its own growth. And I've been very mindful of choosing these three words because, now when I look back, I can easily say that every challenge actually brings with it its own share of learning. And when you really reflect on it, it gives you personal growth, but also growth for your brand and for your company. And if you allow me, I would love to share some of these challenges that have been foundational blocks for my journey.
Sure, Kunal, please.
Yeah, so as I think about this, these memories start coming back. So challenges like, how do you launch an FMCG product in 2 months when the norm is 15 to 18 months? And you know that a big competitor is about to do a launch very soon and it's going to eat into your market share. Or a challenge like, how do you go and have a focus group discussion or an interview with mothers in rural Uttar Pradesh when you know that they're not used to strangers? A challenge like, how do you convince management that the time has come to start shifting the advertising spends from traditional media to the digital media? What about a challenge like convincing the Mumbai Dabbawalas to carry your product as a free sample, especially when they've never done that in the past? So, how do you really convince them? Or even challenges like softer skills and delicate issues like suddenly you become the manager of your peer. How do you continue working with that person, developing that person, and having a strong relationship?
I'm sure you have huge shift and changes over the past 17 years, right? And the challenges, we would love to discuss about that as well. Kunal, if you just bring the changes which you have observed over the period of time and how the overall marketing has taken a different shape, all these years, and if we can discuss like how challenging it was.
Yeah, I think, the world keeps on changing every 5 to 10 years. I must tell you that when I started my career in the FMCG world, we were putting all the budgets in traditional media. I was spending all my advertising spends on television, radio, and print. You could just come up with one creative and run with that throughout the year. Of course, the world has changed now. With the digital platforms and social media emerging, you are constantly churning out content. Also, the allocation of your budgets has to change. It is not the same anymore. So the changes keep happening, and these changes are going to continue to happen. We are now listening and hearing a lot about artificial intelligence, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, blockchains. As a marketer, it is your responsibility to keep learning about these things and figuring out how will you use them in your marketing approach and continue delivering success for your brands.
Marketing is one of the most dynamic function of any organization, and when the society is changing, the consumer mindset is changing, and I'm sure it sounds very easy to speak about that change is the only constant, but adapting that change, observing them and responding to them in a right way is the biggest challenge, and where the art of marketing comes in the picture.
That's an interesting point, because when you talk about challenges, there are changes that are happening also in terms of the media consumption habits of people, right from watching television to the OTT platforms or purchasing behavior. Suddenly the e-commerce platforms, has been gaining momentum year after year. These are also challenges and changes that a marketer has to watch out for and be quick to kind of spot them early enough to make them and turn them into your advantage.
True, because it's not just the consumer mindset, it's actually the media consumption, and all of a sudden, like, you create a campaign and design for certain media, the consumption and the mindset is different, and all of a sudden the same consumer, but they are spending time in different platform and their mindset and mood is different now. So it's altogether a different mindset now. Kunal, also you have worked on different types of marketing. You have worked on B2B and B2C, right? If I'm not wrong. So if we bring that in picture, we have audiences from various domain, and B2B marketing is also one of the challenge. So if we talk about when B2B and B2C marketing bear some similarities, at the same time the differences are even deeper, right? So what are the differences, how different it is from each other, and what are the similarities, if we bring some points on that front?
Yeah, again, this is interesting, because only when you experience both the spaces you start seeing both the differences and the similarities. Let me start with the differences. The biggest differences between B2B and the B2C world is the width of the audience you're reaching out to. In the B2C world, most of the times your audience is just the consumer or the shopper. When it comes to B2B, your audience is not only your customer, but also other players in the value chain, because they play a big role in influencing your customer. Second thing is that in the B2B world, it becomes extremely important to show your thought leadership and educating the customer, because customers only like to interact and do transactions with you when they have a certain amount of credibility and trust. It's not the case in the B2C world, where it is all about going to a particular shop and picking up a favorite cookie or chocolate or detergent. So it's a bit different. Even the buying cycle is a bit different. The buying cycle in the B2C world is really short, but in the B2B world, it takes a while before you can convert an opportunity into a lead, into a sales. And therefore, you have to keep deploying many different big and small resources in the B2B world. Another interesting difference that I've noticed in my career was the use of CRM, or customer relationship management. Now, CRM as a system has been there for many years, but in the B2C world, it is still used in a very limited way. Whereas in the B2B world, that is the foundation. All the marketing that I do, all the campaigns, they are linked to the pipeline in the CRM, and you're mapping it and seeing the returns on your investment and the impact of the marketing work that you're doing. That's another big difference that I've seen between the two worlds. Now, if we talk about the similarities, there are some similarities. One of the first things that, I realized after moving to the B2B is that at the end of the day, the person receiving the message on the other side is still a human being. So you cannot walk away from the fact that you do have to build strong emotional connections. You do have to deliver strong functional benefits, and the foundation has to be strong value proposition for what your product or brand is all about. That doesn't change. That is a fundamental truth. And whether it's a B2B or B2C, you cannot walk away from that. The second thing that I noticed in terms of similarity is that you need to have a strong content marketing strategy irrespective of whichever of the two spaces you're working on. Now, of course, the content that you churn out might be different, but if you do not have a strong strategy mapped out, you're not going to succeed. So these are some of the similarities that I've noticed between the B2B and B2C world.
Great, Kunal. So, considering the fact that you are dealing with another human, the basic rules are same because one human is talking to another human and the decision maker is also human. But at the same time, considering the buying ticket size and the buying behavior and the cycle that, we really need to keep the differences also in mind to find out an effective solution towards it. Thank you for bringing that here, Kunal. So with that, Kunal, if we discuss more on this particular topic, like how the marketers from two different camps, B2B and B2C, engage their target audience and craft their campaigns effectively.
What is different between the two platforms or two spaces, B2B and B2C, is first of all the choices in terms of the platforms and the channels that you're making. You have to be, much closer and personalized to the customer when it comes to the B2B space. When I was in the B2C world, I could create a big television advertisement and run it across all channels and hope and ensure that that my audience is watching it. That is not something that you can really do in the B2B world. You have to be laser focused. In the B2B world, it is a lot more about the technical details. It is a lot more about what are the functional benefits that I mentioned earlier in terms of the value proposition. What is it that the customer gets by transacting and doing business with another company, another brand? In the B2C, it is more of a moment of truth there and then. At that present moment, when you go out there and you decide to have a cold drink, it is that moment of truth then. It is not something that has been built over a period of time, and then you're deciding and you're considering your choices over a period of time and then making choices. It's a very different world, which means that point of sale advertising and point of sale visibility becomes so much important in the B2C world, whereas in the B2B world, it is much more about building relationships, building that for a period of time, so that the customers feel comfortable doing interactions and transactions with people.
The B2B is more focused and more on the detailing part. It's very, very important on that part. At the same time, B2C is also focused, but it's focused on the moment, on the consumer behavior, because the consumer is going to decide at that particular moment. So creating and crafting the momentum of the moment is, I think, the key here.
Exactly. And I think like I said, the buying cycle, since it's shorter in the case of B2C, you're not building consideration for a long period of time. Of course, you have to keep building your brand and your brand visibility. That's a given. But in the B2B, before even a transaction happens, there is work that is being done for a long time. It's a waiting game. It's a game of patience. You hope that an opportunity will convert into a sales. But in the B2C, it's not like that. You do your advertising, you do your marketing, and you can see sales instantly because consumers out there making almost on a daily basis.
Great. And Kunal, this is something to in the psychology of the sales person and the marketer's part, that you really have to have that patience. You cannot compare yourself to another salesperson who is into B2C, because you can the movements and the sales which is happening pretty much faster. But here you work a lot before the transactions happens. I feel this is something which many of us, we lose patience because we have already put so much of effort, and now we are not sure that we're going to get that deal or not. So I'm sure that patience and perseverance, that is how you build your sales cycle and you reach to your results, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm so happy that we are bringing out all these important points in this platform. Thank you for bringing out those points. Okay, so now moving on to Kunal, you have huge experience in FMCG brands. Like, I mean, you have worked on that industries with various brands, various industries. You have worked on the national and international brands, right? So help us with 3 actionable tips to build an effective FMCG brand.
I mean, FMCG world, it's an ocean out there. But I think if you put me in a spot and just ask for 3 tips, my answer is going to be that first of all, you have to be consistent in your positioning, in your messaging, and your brand identity. I see so many marketers wanting to make changes too frequently, even when it is not required. Let me give you an example from my own experience. I worked on the brand Kit Kat. The Kit Kat tagline of "Have a break, have a Kit Kat" has been there globally since the last 65 years. Marketers have come and the brand has not changed that tagline. That is the power of consistency. My second tip is don't be afraid to test new ways of marketing. While you can follow your tried and tested approach, but if it's possible, try and take out 1 to 2% of your marketing budget in trying and experimenting with new things. There will be 2 benefits that will come out of that. First of all, you might just discover a new way of doing marketing, which will be even more effective than what you've been doing so far. And second, even if it doesn't work, you and your team would have learned something without having wasted too much money. My third and final would be create strong brand properties. Devleena, most iconic brands, it's not just a name or a logo. These brands have strong brand properties. Think about it in terms of colors, fonts, jingle, sonic branding, packaging. And you can try and do a combination of these or few of these, but try and build strong properties. That's how, FMCG brands are built. So these would be my 3 tips.
These are, I think, very important and key points, Kunal, you have brought, that the brand properties, how we build the brand, how we want the brand to look like, which are very important, and being consistent. Being consistent with patience is very, very important, as you given the example of Kit Kat, brand identity and the positioning and the messaging, what we are doing. So I think this is for the young entrepreneurs and the business owners also. We lose patience, and at the same time we just keep trying, with the different messaging and different positioning. So I think this is a key point for that category. And what I loved, that keep your 1 to 2% in the trying budget. So I was talking to one more guest, and we spoke about we should keep a failing budget. So I think this is an innovation budget, failing budget, whatever you can call it, and which gives you a lot of peace of mind and a pocket to explore more you and your own team. So I think that's a great idea for every marketers and for the young marketers to keep that failing budget, that experimenting budget.
Absolutely.
To try the new marketing ideas and campaigns, right? I just love that point, and I think that's a crucial. We often forget, to keep bracket and margins for ourselves, right? Super, great. So, Kunal, over the period of time, we have seen a lot of changes in last 2-3 years. So, what are the insights that took you by surprise, and how are you using them in your business strategy?
The last 18-20 months, everyone has embraced and adapted to this fight for survival. The B2B world, this is a sector where digital adoption has always been slow. But suddenly what we've seen is that people have embraced digital in a big way. Things that used to be happening offline, be it events, meetings, or transactions, all of that has moved into the digital realm. Of course, it caught everyone by surprise by the pace of it. But I can also say that in DSM, we've always had a strong digital mindset and strong digital strategies in place. So it didn't take us much time to really, be prepared to meet these changing demands. But I think this has been something which is something that was not, expected to happen so soon. So this really took everyone by surprise. Also, we must not forget that now that everyone is onto the digital bandwagon, technologies will keep changing. Things will keep evolving. We are doing this conversation virtually. I think people are getting used to that, but new platforms keep emerging. We're hearing a lot about the metaverse, how that's going to evolve, and what does that mean for us in our industry, in our customer transactions. It's something we're going to just wait, watch, and learn from that. The technology is changing at a rapid speed, and you have to be constantly, watching it, learning from it.
True. So, biggest message for any marketer is do not sit constant and do not think that you have got the right formula, because not only the consumer mindset is changing, not only the world is changing, it's the technology, the platform, the usage, each and everything is changing so fast. As you mentioned, the pace of digitalization, the adoption of digital platforms, that has took all of us by surprise in the last 2 years. COVID has speeded up the process of digital adoption here, right? So, great. Kunal, one more question on the front, how your relationship with your agency partners, when I say agency partners, it's your media and creative agency partners, have changed of late, and what are the 3 must-have qualities you look for, choosing for an agency?
Yeah, Devleena, I've always treated my agencies over the years as business partners. In fact, some of the people from those agencies that I worked with in the past are now really good. And personally, the term client has been something that has always bothered me. That is something I've never been comfortable with, because the word client has a dimension of superiority to it. And when you use the term partner, you actually show that you treat them as equals. That's when mutual respect and mutual trust happens. So that's an important thing that I want to kind of mention here. Now, what has changed over the years is that with the proliferation of multiple marketing platforms to choose from, there is a number of small specialized agencies that have come up. Gone are those days when you work with one big agency, and that one big agency would be doing everything for you. Today, I have multiple agencies, and the benefit is that I can tap into the specialization of each one of them. That's what's changed in years. But what's not changed is the 3 qualities that I always look into any agency that we're bringing on board. First and foremost, the agency has to have a strategic approach. This will ensure that they understand our brief, also understand the objective of our business. That's very important for me. The second thing is that the agency has to have passion to deliver great work at all times. There should not be constraints because of budgets or other constraints. There should be clear passion in delivering great work. I think the third thing is they need to have a challenging mindset. And the reason I say that is that if an agency takes every feedback that you're giving, then the agency is not helping you grow. The agency has to push back, challenge you, because that helps you and your brand to really flourish and grow and do better things and bigger things. So those are the 3 qualities that I always look every time I'm
Right, Kunal. And the moment, Kunal, you said that they are not, the relationship is not the vendor-client relationship, it's a partnership. That partnership itself defines each and everything. See, you are sharing the mutual respect and trust with each other. At the same time, the responsibility and accountability is also same. I feel if the agency is working for any client, they should feel that they are the extension, they're the family, and that is how the vision is same, the goal is same, and we are working towards the same goal. And I feel the accountability and the responsibility also, automatically you bring it the moment partners, you just don't have to tell them that this is your job, they should be knowing. And yeah, of course, while choosing, it's very, very important to have the same passion and the same energy which the other party is, otherwise it's not a mismatch. It's a long-term game. It's not just 1 or 2 campaigns, right? Superb. Great points here, Kunal. Amazing. The conversation is going so nicely and so deeply. Okay. So, Kunal, you have worked in various places. So now, particularly in DSM Nutritional Product, what are your top contribution in your current organization?
one of the biggest contribution to that I feel that I've given to my company has been my involvement in the launch of our biggest strategic sustainability initiative. Sustainability is in our core, and this sustainability is not a buzzword that we've jumped onto now. We've been talking about sustainability for the last 10, 15 years, even before companies were talking about it. So we launched an initiative called We Make It Possible. This was a global launch that had to be done simultaneously across all our markets, across all 5 zones. What that meant was we had to do immense planning and coordination, because I was working and we were creating more than 300 assets across 11 languages. And I was working with 10 agencies in different countries. And we had to ensure that everything happens together at the same time to ensure a smooth and seamless launch. And now, 2 years down the line, I can say this with a lot of pride, a lot of delight, that this was the best launches that we've done, not only in DSM, but within our industry as well. So that has been something that makes me really happy.
Superb, Kunal. Happy to hear that, and I wish you all the very best, to get more and more such kind of campaigns and bring it, towards the organization and towards the world itself, right? So with that, Kunal, we are moving to a little lighter section, which is a rapid fire round. You need to answer in one word or as minimum as possible. Okay. So let's start it. What is leadership for you?
Leadership is stewardship. I actually finished reading Atomic Habits last year by James Clear, and I'm going to read that again this year, because I think that's the kind of book that you have to keep visiting again and again to remind yourself what you want to do in your life.
Yeah, I can't agree more on that, Kunal. Coincidentally, I have just finished Atomic Habits, and the same thought process behind it, I have to read that again and again. And I just, read in Kindle, and now I'm ordering my hard copy, because it's very important to keep looking at those pointers, ingrained in yourself, those habits. Amazing book. Great. One. So who has been the greatest influence to you?
Tim Ferriss podcast, the Tim Ferriss Show. And the reason Tim Ferriss brings on a show, guests from different walks of life. And they talk about topics that I may not even have any clue about. They talk about perspectives that I may not have considered. And every episode, these are long form episodes, 1.5 hours, 2 hours. Every episode, after the episode, I feel that I have grown a bit more. And therefore, I think Clarity has been a great influence for me. I've been listening to that show for the last few years, and I still feel that it is a great influence.
Wow, thanks for sharing that, Kunal. I will explore it, immediately. Tim Ferriss, right?
Yeah, it's one of the most popular podcasts, actually. He started podcasting back in 2004 when people didn't even know what podcasting was.
Yes. Because you were saying in 2-3 years, you're just listening to that, right? What is the best thing happened to you this year?
Well, it's not this year, but last year. But this is a very simple answer. I became a father for the first time to a lovely little 6 months back.
Many congratulations to you and your family.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. When are you most inspired?
Mostly most inspired when creativity strikes at any point in time.
Early in the morning or late in the night? What kind of person you are?
I'm early in the morning person.
Nice. What's the best compliment you have received so far?
Some time back, someone reached out to me on LinkedIn and wrote to me that I look forward to your post every day. I learn so much from it, and it inspires me. And this was, for me, by far the best compliment.
And you know what, we have no idea silently how, you are inspiring so many people by your post. And, it's a great contribution, not just, keeping your knowledge to yourself, but sharing with the world, because it helps many people. One might have told you, but there are many, they just feel, okay, it's good, but they might come to you later. It's important to share. So, what does creativity means?
Creativity means a sense of satisfaction an aha moment. And I think it's actually a blend of imagination and execution. That's what it means to me.
Awesome. I love the aha moment definition here for creativity. Right. What is an important life lesson for someone to learn?
I think people should remember that brands were there before you. Brands would remain there even after you. Never believe or live in that myth that a brand will crumble after you leave. Brand will stay there. The highs are never permanent. The lows are never permanent. What is really permanent is the legacy that you hopefully can leave behind with the honest and hard work that you do. That would be my lesson.
Wow, that's amazing, Kunal. That's an amazing line. In fact, not for the brands which are already created, but for the entrepreneurs who are, working on creating brands and building the brands. I think this is something to keep in mind, that these are like for long lasting. You're just creating a legacy, not just the name, right? So with that, Kunal, we are out of the rapid fire round. And before I wind up the conversation, I want you to share your message to the aspiring marketers, Kunal.
One message to aspiring marketers is that, platforms, marketing channels, technologies will keep coming, will keep changing over the years. What is hot today might not be hot anymore a few years down the line. However, just remember that whatever trends come and go, the fundamentals of marketing are here to stay. So good quality, consistent content, strong positioning, emotional connection with your customers, and a deep understanding of who your audience is. If you can master these things, you can succeed as a marketer in any industry, in any country, and at any given point of time. That would be my simple message to the aspiring marketers.
So the success behind brand or any marketer, it relies on the foundations. It relies on the basic rules of the subject, which is being consistent, being real, being fundamental, grounded, and understanding what my customer wants and what is the need, listening to the customers more. So
Yes, you cannot go wrong if you do that.
yes, it couldn't have been more precise and on point, Kunal, than this. And thank you for bringing those amazing points through the conversation here, Kunal, and amazing shares, great real-time experiences which you have shared, and these are all practical solutions and key insights which you brought through this platform. And thank you for sharing your time with us from this busy schedule at this busy time. I know, how it's going for you. Thank you for coming here on Icons Behind Brand, and it was great having you here, Kunal.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much once again to invite me on this platform. And I hope that your listeners, the viewers, take something and really enjoy this session. Thank you.
Sure, Kunal. And I hope you had a good time.
I did. Thank you very much.
Awesome, Kunal. Thank you.